Before a woman disrespects you, she tests the silence between your words. She pushes boundaries not because she's cruel, but because she's curious. Curious to see how much you'll tolerate, how far she can go before you finally draw the line. And most men never do. They explain, they defend, they beg to be understood. But a Stoic man doesn't negotiate his worth, he enforces it. Welcome to Stoic Reflections, where we strip away illusion, expose emotional manipulation, and rebuild the masculine frame through unshakable Stoic truth. Because a real man doesn't chase approval. He commands respect through stillness, action, and consequence. What you're about to learn are not tactics for revenge or games of ego. They are principles of dominance. 5 silent moves that make any woman regret ever crossing the line. So pay attention. Because once you master these, you'll never need to raise your voice, seek validation, or fight for respect again. Move number 1. Cut off access without warning. When a woman disrespects you, she's gambling that you'll still be there tomorrow. Still answering her calls, still orbiting her life like nothing happened. Because in her mind, you're too attached, too invested, too afraid to lose her. And that's why she feels safe crossing the line. But a man who values himself doesn't lecture about boundaries. He enforces them in silence. He doesn't warn her that she's gone too far. He doesn't write long messages about how he feels. He simply disappears. Cutting off access is not about punishment. It's about recalibration, reminding her that your presence was never guaranteed. And when it happens without a single warning, it hits harder than any speech, because silence leaves her with questions she can't escape. She'll scroll through old messages, replay conversations, and try to pinpoint the exact moment you shifted from being always available to completely gone. That confusion, that's where regret begins. Most men ruin this by announcing their exit, by making a scene, giving emotional goodbyes, or trying to sound strong. But when you leave quietly, she doesn't get closure. She only gets the echo of your absence, and that echo grows louder with every day you stay gone. You don't block her for attention. You don't leave breadcrumbs. You remove yourself completely. No half measures, no emotional check-ins, no subtle, just seeing how you're doing. Because every small sign of weakness reopens the door she thought was shut. And when you vanish without warning, she's forced to face the one thing every manipulative woman fears most: a man who is no longer reacting. Your silence becomes her mirror. And in that reflection, she sees everything she lost. Your attention, your energy, your protection, your presence. That's when the regret sets in. Not because you punished her, but because you showed her what life looks like without you. Cutting off access without warning isn't about revenge. It's about mastering emotional control, the essence of Stoicism. Because when you no longer explain, argue, or plead, you reclaim the one thing no one can manipulate: your frame. Move number 2, level up quietly. After you walk away, silence isn't the end, it's the beginning. The mistake most men make after being disrespected is waiting. Waiting for an apology, waiting for closure, waiting for her to notice the absence. But waiting is weakness disguised as patience. A Stoic man doesn't wait, he builds. He understands that the most devastating form of revenge is transformation. Not a few motivational posts, not showing off progress online, but a complete, quiet evolution that turns you into a man she could never reach again. Because the truth is, she expects you to fall apart. She expects you to sit in that silence, replaying every moment, checking her stories, wondering if she misses you. She counts on your emotional addiction. That's why leveling up quietly is lethal. It denies her the performance she's waiting for. When she looks for signs that you're broken, she finds only stillness. When she wonders what you're doing, there's nothing to see. You become unpredictable, mysterious, untouchable. And when you finally reappear, months later, you don't just look better, you are better. Your body sharper, your presence heavier, your eyes calmer. You've been forged in focus, not in pain. Every time you train, study, earn, and refine yourself without saying a word, you widen the distance. Not just physically, but spiritually. You move from being the man she disrespected to the man she can't even approach. And that's the paradox. The quieter you grow, the louder your progress becomes. She won't admit it, but she'll feel it. That rising tension of regret when she realizes the man she dismissed evolved into the one she always wanted. But you don't do it for her. You do it because the man who levels up quietly stops chasing validation altogether. His focus becomes sacred, his energy becomes expensive, his discipline becomes his language. And when you live like that, detached, focused, unbothered, the world responds differently. People respect your time, opportunities find you. Women sense your control before you even speak. That's the beauty of silence. It doesn't announce your evolution. It reveals it when the time is right. Level up quietly. Because a man who's busy building doesn't need to prove anything. His existence becomes the proof. Move number 3, stop explaining yourself. A weak man explains. A strong man acts. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you reclaim control over your life. Because every explanation you give to someone who's already disrespected you isn't clarity, it's negotiation. And every time you negotiate your worth, you lose a little of it. When a woman crosses the line and you begin to justify your reaction, you hand her the power to decide whether your boundaries are valid. And once she senses that, she'll twist it. She'll minimize her behavior, question your judgment, or make you feel guilty for demanding respect. That's how emotional control works, not by force, but by confusion. But a Stoic man never debates his standards. He doesn't need validation to stand on principle. He moves with certainty, calm, firm, and unapologetic. When she asks, "Why are you distant?" you don't deliver a lecture, you simply say, "I'm focused on what matters." And that's it. No explanations, no emotional reports, no long messages. Because the moment you start explaining, you're asking for understanding. And understanding is not what you need. You need alignment. And people who truly respect you won't need every detail spelled out to see it. A man who explains too much is trying to be liked. A man who stays silent is already respected. Women test certainty. They're drawn to it instinctively. When you stop justifying your choices, your silence becomes a statement. I don't need you to agree. I need you to understand who I am. That's the power of Stoicism, self-command. You control your actions, your reactions, your direction, nothing else. And the irony is this: when you stop explaining yourself, people start explaining themselves to you. Because they feel the shift. They sense the authority that comes from a man who no longer seeks approval. So stop explaining, stop convincing, stop defending your truth. A man's worth isn't proven in arguments. It's demonstrated through how little he needs to argue at all. Move number 4, redirect energy to a better circle. Walking away is power, but what you do after walking away decides whether that power grows or fades. Most men think the victory is in cutting her off, but walking away without direction isn't power, it's emptiness. And emptiness always pulls you back to the same pain you tried to escape. That's why the real move isn't just leaving her world, it's building one so strong she could never exist in it. When you redirect your energy to a better circle, one of discipline, ambition, and accountability, your entire reality changes. Because your circle is your mirror. It reflects your standards, your mindset, your future. If your environment is filled with small talk, weak habits, and comfort seekers, you will eventually shrink to fit it. That's why average men relapse into the same disrespect, not because they miss her, but because they miss familiarity. They never replaced it with something better. But when you step into rooms where men demand excellence, where excuses sound pathetic and effort is the baseline, something in you wakes up. You start thinking sharper, moving faster, feeling stronger. You realize that growth isn't an event, it's an atmosphere. And if you stay around mediocrity, even your strength will suffocate. A stoic man protects his energy the way a warrior guards his weapon. He doesn't waste it on gossip, cheap pleasure, or validation. He invests it in people and places that sharpen him. When you redirect your focus from chasing women to chasing mastery, your energy multiplies. You stop wondering if she's thinking about you, because you're too busy becoming the kind of man everyone thinks about. And here's the truth most men never face. You can't build a disciplined life in a careless environment. You can't build emotional control around emotional chaos. So cut dead weight. Replace every distraction with direction. Surround yourself with men who remind you who you are when you forget. Because when your circle is strong, your boundaries are automatic. You won't have to explain your standards. They'll be enforced by the company you keep. And when she sees that you didn't just walk away, you walked up into a higher reality, that's when the regret hits. You left, but because you outgrew her completely. Move number 5, show zero emotional recoil. The moment she realizes she can no longer control how you feel is the moment she loses all power over you. Most men fail this test. They react, they raise their voice, they try to prove how deeply they've been hurt, hoping their anger will make her understand. But all it does is feed her ego, because in her mind, if she can still trigger your emotions, she still owns a part of you. That's why the most devastating response to disrespect isn't rage, it's composure. It's looking directly at someone who tried to provoke you and remaining completely unmoved. A stoic man doesn't mirror chaos. He absorbs it, disarms it, and walks away untouched. His stillness becomes a weapon. When you don't flinch, when you don't defend, when your face doesn't even change, she's left staring at silence that cuts deeper than any insult. Because that silence says what words never could. You have no effect on me anymore. This is emotional dominance, not pretending not to care, but truly reaching a place where her behavior no longer dictates your state. You breathe slowly. You think clearly. You act deliberately. You choose self-control over reaction, because you understand that anger is easy, restraint is strength. Every time you refuse to react, you build inner armor. Every time you hold your frame under pressure, you rise above the noise. And soon, people stop testing you. Not because they fear your rage, but because they respect your composure. They realize you can't be baited, manipulated, or pulled into emotional chaos. For the woman who disrespected you, that realization is brutal. She sees that the man she once provoked for attention now moves through life unaffected, unavailable, and untouchable. And nothing haunts a manipulative person more than realizing their chaos no longer reaches you. Because your peace is proof of your power. And that's the essence of Stoicism, not indifference but mastery. The ability to remain centered while everything around you tries to shake you. So when disrespect comes again, and it will, don't react, don't explain, don't defend. Stand tall, be silent, and let your stillness make more noise than their words ever could. Because in the end, true power isn't shown through control over others, it's shown through control over yourself. And once you master that, no woman, no insult, no betrayal can touch you again. Most men spend their lives trying to prove their worth to people who already decided not to see it. But a stoic man learns to stop performing and start protecting. He doesn't beg for understanding. He doesn't explain his peace. He simply builds a life where disrespect can't survive. Because every moment you waste defending yourself to the wrong person is a moment stolen from the man you're meant to become. So remember this: the goal is not to be liked, it's to be respected. Not to be desired, but to be disciplined. Not to control others, but to control yourself. That's how power is earned, not through anger, but through absence. Not through noise, but through silence. And when you finally reach that level of composure, people start to feel it before you speak. Your presence becomes the message, your calm becomes the warning. So take these 5 silent moves not as strategies, but as standards. Live them. Embodied discipline, unshakable calm, controlled strength. Because the man who masters these no longer needs revenge, he is the revenge. This is Stoic Reflections, where pain becomes wisdom and silence becomes power. If this message spoke to you, don't just listen, live it. And if you're ready to rise above noise, subscribe, because we're just getting started.